So what is the big picture? Well, let's take a look at it from taking it from the strategy to the execution for manufacturing planning and control. Well, first we need to see where we go from strategy all the way through that execution. So on our screen, you see at the top here, we have our strategic business plan. So these are our strategic goals. They're usually long-term planning, anywhere between 2 and 10 years. Then we have our integrated business planning. So this is our S&OP and CPFR. So this is where we can kind of get some mid-range planning. This is usually 6 to 18 months. Then we have our aggregate planning. And then we start getting into our short-term planning. This might be weekly, daily, or even a monthly plan. So we have our master production scheduling, materials requirements planning, and our production and purchasing control. So this is how we execute based on our intermediate planning and our long-term planning. So we need the right stuff at the right time. So our strategic business plan answers a few key questions that we need to know to develop our plan. Who are our customers? We need to actually define who our customers are. And what are their needs? What do they need? So if you are the customer and you came to the university, your need is perhaps a college education or to get more knowledge in an area that you want to learn about. And hopefully at the end of a certain period of time, you can walk away with a piece of paper saying that you've achieved a degree and a transcript to back that up. So that's could be your need. And then how is your company going to meet the customer's need better than anybody else? So how is the university going to beat the other competitors? Is it based on value? Is it based on experience? Is it based on whatever other factors that you want to consider? So we need to know this information, but we can get it from our strategic business plan because that's what's in our strategic business plan. But then we have to look at our key processes that comprise an effective manufacturing and control system. So all of these, as was mentioned in that scheduling, comes down to developing our manufacturing schedule, essentially. So we have our integrated business planning and our aggregate planning. So the aggregate planning is basically just breaking down into little plans. And our integrated business planning is bringing everything together. Everybody's talking to each other. You might involve your customers, you might involve your suppliers, and you're coming together. Those two categories are roughly your 6 to 18 month plan. But then we have our master production schedule, our materials requirement planning, and our production and purchasing control. So based on the planning of that 6 to 18 months and what our customer wants and when they want it, we can develop our master production schedule to meet the customer demand. So that schedule is going to give us and tell us as supply chain professionals what we need to have on hand and when it needs to be there by, so we can make sure that we can produce and make that production happen. Are you following me so far? So that master production schedule creates our requirements, our material requirements, because the production needs raw materials, right? So we can plan out those raw materials. And then when everything comes together, we are actually producing, and then we also need to control our purchasing. So we might need to get more materials, or we're looking 2, 3, 4 weeks ahead down the line because we're purchasing for that part of the manufacturing. Could be a different product, could be the same product. So all these things coming together are going to make our planning work. And that's the big picture. It's not complicated. We have to have plans. That way we can accomplish the plan because we look at everything. We look at all the risks. Where if we're just trying to fly by the seat of our pants, we might not have any pants by the time we're done with this. So let's dive more into this aggregate planning. We haven't talked about that much yet. So let's dive into it in our next video.